Awesome. So we'll get this cracking. So we've got Ryan on here again. As always, our local physio. He's over at Invigor Health. You also got the podcast, Fit After 35, which Josh has definitely, I know he's been listening to it. Yeah, so what else you got going on at the moment, Ryan?
So just doing the podcast has been a big one for me. So it's just talking to people. I'm trying to, because the majority of people that I see are generally over 35 years old. So we generally, they're my clientele. So I just wanted to talk to people that are really doing it right, older athletes or even health professionals as well. And I just love having a bit of a chat to them for about an hour and sort of getting their tips and tricks on how they stay sort of fit, active and pain-free. Because if you are even over 30 or even if you get into your late 20s, the injuries that would just be gone. Like I used to play rugby league when I was younger, and I'd get absolutely smashed on the Saturday with the like my body would just be broken. But then come Monday, I was up, I was ready, I was training again. And that doesn't happen now. If I was to do rugby league again, I reckon I'd be done till Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. So it's talking to little tips and tricks, because from my world as a physio is I know that quite well. But yeah, definitely looking at like nutrition and other things. I think it's really important. And even yourself, mate, we'll have to get you on, mate. We'll have to get you on, bro.
Maybe in sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So like looking at it holistically, like looking at every angle that you can hit, like that's where you need to look now. Like it's not just about, like, especially for me, it's not just about strength and conditioning. You got to look at what's happening outside. You got to look at the rehab side of things, making sure you're moving properly, making sure you're eating properly. Everything all rolls into one, and then you perform well. So
yeah, that's why I like what you guys are doing here too, because I know you're looking for a nutritionist as well, and
yeah.
You have me in the rehab space, and then yourself with strength and conditioning. I think it's the complete package. I think is super important as well, and you can't just have one without looking at the others at least. Because if you want to get strong, there's always going to be little chinks in your armor for rehab. If you want to get strong, you got to eat well as well. Mindset's important. So I think looking at all those things collaboratively and getting different people in is a really helpful thing for all your members. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't be a professional in everything. So you might as well make a team and give people what they need.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We're going to talk shoulders, your favorite joint apparently.
Yeah, I love shoulders. I think it's such it's the most mobile joint in the body. And we use it like that. So we use it for lots of things. It's our muscle and joint that we reach out for things. We reach above our head, and when everything's working perfectly, it's awesome. But the problem is, because it is so mobile, it's also like one of the most unstable joints in the body as well. So with that comes it leaves it open for injuries. And if I was going to show, I have a little image anyway, but it's okay. It's not allowing it. But so the way I always say to people about the shoulder, it's like a ball and a socket. Like when you think of ball and socket joint, you think of like a ball like this, and then the socket that encloses over it like that. Well, that's more like your hip. If you think of your shoulder, I always give people the analogy. It's like a seal. Like, the seal, the animal, the seal, it's like a seal's nose balancing a beach ball. So it's much more unstable. You've got this massive ball and you've got this shallow socket, which is the seal's nose. And because of that reason, you need all these other muscles around the shoulder to be activating and working properly in order to facilitate good movement. And the problem is a lot of the time when you start doing more and more, that these muscles aren't working. So it's really, really good to have a look at what might be going on. Is it stiffness? Is it weakness? And try and start working on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that mobility definitely causes a bit of problem. Like when I posted up in the fitness forum about injuries and stuff, and 90% of them were people constantly dislocating their shoulders from impact. And you were talking about footy before. It's majority of the time it was from footy, and people are telling me that their shoulders are ruined. But yeah, a lot of it was dislocating shoulders. So yeah, that stability is massive.
Dislocations are a big one. I'm sure we'll delve in there, but dislocations are a big bad injury that will usually manifest later after you've had them when you're younger, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, all right, sweet. So yeah, you've gone over sort of the structure of the shoulder. So, give us a bit of a rundown of, you're saying a stable shoulder. Does a stable shoulder have a particular look? Like, can you eyeball whether a shoulder is sitting right, or whether you've maybe shortened, like an unbalanced shoulder has got a particular look?
Yeah. You touched on a few things there. A stable shoulder has a few things going on. It has good structural stability. So when we say structural stability, we mean like shoulder ligaments, and ligaments connect a bone to another bone. So for the shoulder, it's connecting shoulder blade ligaments into the actual humerus bone, or this part of your shoulder here. But that's the structural stability. So after a dislocation, you do stretch those ligaments, and they're never the same after. But then you have what's called dynamic stability, and dynamic stability is basically muscles that help to stabilize. So the big stabilizer of the shoulder is called your rotator cuff, and a lot of you guys might have heard of it because you might have heard of your dad that's torn one of his rotator cuff muscles. It's really common in people that are sort of 55 and up. Or you might hear of someone that's a bit younger that may have tendonitis on their rotator cuff, which is another really common thing as well. And tendonitis is where the muscle connects to the actual bone to get it to pull and move. That it connects via what's called a tendon, and the tendons can get irritated. So there needs to be that good structural stability with ligaments, and there needs to also be good dynamic stability or good muscle stability, and those muscles need to work and operate well. Also, the other thing that needs to work, for every 2 degrees your arm comes up like this, your shoulder blade actually has to tilt with it, like that. So for every 2 degrees, the shoulder blade tilts 1 degree. And so as you bring your arm up, that needs to coordinate as well. So there's a coordination aspect to that tilting and that moving of the arm. And if that's not happening effectively, then you can have further problems. And that's when you might say, bro, it's like you said, the shoulder's not sitting right, because you might have muscles like, for example, your upper traps are a big one, this muscle up here. And that might be really, really overactive on a side where you have pain. And so your shoulder sits up a little bit higher on one side. And you might, more common for the people that I see, but definitely if you're sitting down at a desk, or even we all use our phones now. If you're using your phones and your pecs start to get really tight and your shoulders kind of come forward like this, your neck pokes forward like this, and it gets you in that bad posture, then your shoulder over time won't be sitting in the right place. And when it's not sitting in the right place, that's not because of trauma, that's because of repetitive things that you've done and imbalances in muscles that you've created over time. And so that just, while that might not cause an injury straight away, it leaves you open for injury. So it's really, really important to sort of address those things as well.
Yeah. And that's a massive thing, especially in these times when we're all sitting behind a computer and hunching over. But it doesn't even have to be sitting behind a computer, does it? It can be like you're just stuck in a position. Like you could be hunched over in like a mechanic leaning over in a car. You could be doing a whole heap of different things.
Yeah, 100%. Anything work related where you get into a seated posture, or even the dawn of mobile phones. Like mobile phones, they reckon with a 30-degree head tilt, which isn't even that much. So you tilt your head down 30 degrees, and roughly the weight of your head on your neck muscles is it's worth twice as much as it was at the start. So those neck muscles have to work really a lot harder, and that's just your neck. So your shoulders are it's all incorporated as well.
Yeah. So people that are getting those neck pains all the time need to sort of have a look at that.
Bring the phone up. Yeah.
Just have it like one of those little things and have it attached to your head. So
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So yeah, you've gone over sort of, what it looks like a stable shoulder. So you got it nice and sitting in a good position. And you're talking about the whole movement of the scapula. So do you see that locked up much? Like, is that a common thing for that scap to sort of lock up and not move as one with the actual shoulder?
Sometimes I usually more see weak muscles. So I usually, weak muscles are sort of apparent. So one muscle that you might see, and you might not even know it works on the shoulder, but actually does, is your serratus anterior, and that's a muscle just here. And that muscle, you'll see it, it's really profound on people who do boxing, because what it does is it actually pushes your shoulder blade forward like that. And so when you box, you really are doing that action quite a lot. So you'll usually find that that's, or not usually, you can find that that's inactive. And that muscle actually tilts your shoulder blade and allows your shoulder blade to move and rotate as you come up. So it's what you call an upward rotator. It helps with bringing your arm up above your head. And so if that's inactive, if that's not pulling up, then automatically, let's see how I'm going to do this. Automatically, the shoulder blade, if you can imagine the socket, should be going like this as you come up, and your humerus bone's kind of coming up like that as we bring our arm up. But what happens if that shoulder blade's not tilting, your arm starts to come up, and you just butt against the top there. And that's when you get those things called impingements quite a lot. You might have heard of a shoulder impingement. They're really, really common. They're probably the most common shoulder injury that I see. And so they are formed from an imbalance. But it doesn't always have to be serratus. It could be some of the other muscles as well. You can have your pec muscle really overactive, so the shoulder sits forward as well. And then that upper trap as well. And it's the same sort of setup. It just means that the shoulder blade isn't rotating up as effectively, and it's butting up. There's no control.
Yeah, definitely hear of those shoulder impingements a lot, and people complaining about the overhead pressing. Like as soon as they go into that overhead head movement, they get that pain up in their shoulder just from it jamming up. So for those people that are getting that pain in the overhead position, like I understand that it can be a million different things, but just as a bit of a protocol for someone to try out at home to try to combat that. Have you got anything to sort of mobilize maybe the pec that you're talking about, activate the serratus? Or
Yeah. So I would say the first things first, what you might want to do is have a look at mobility. I thought it would be that's why I've set myself up outside, and you guys can all have a go as well. I thought it'd be a cool idea if we all have a little practice.
Yeah.
So a really cool way to see, first of all, have a look and say, is my impingement or is my shoulder pain, let's just call it shoulder pain to kind of, umbrella everything. Is it because of stiffness, first of all, or is it because of weakness? And you can test stiffness for overhead pressing, because it is that we do need, when we overhead press, we need to be able to have those shoulder blades moving like we just talked about. But we also need to have our upper back nice and mobile too, because our upper back goes from flexion to extension as we bring our arms above our head. So if you really stiffen your back too, that can create issues. But if you guys want to have a go, or you can just watch me do it. Just see. Can you see me, bros? Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
So you set yourself up against the wall, but I want you to set yourself up against the wall so your back is completely flush. So the whole of your back is actually touching the wall. And what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself into this I've been arrested posture. And from here, you're going to bring your arms over your head as far as you can. Now, what I want you to do, what I want you to think about is when you go to bring your arms over your head, are you able to keep your back completely flush against the wall? Or are you arching your back in order to compensate to make it happen? And if you are arching your back, it means that you don't have the mobility in your shoulder to come up overhead. And so what you're doing is essentially you're using your back to compensate for that movement, so your shoulder's not mobile enough. The other thing you can have a look at as well is coming down into a W position. You can see with me, as I get to the bottom, my right arm actually comes off the wall. Or maybe you can't see that, but I'll just tell you.
Yeah, we can see it. Yep.
Whereas my left side's actually quite good. It's fine. Coming up over my head, it's not too bad. There's a little bit of restrictions there. But if I sort of warmed up properly and did a little bit of mobility before I started, then that would be pretty good.
So when you're doing that overhead, is that elbows, wrists against the wall? So you're sliding everything up together?
That's right, yeah. So you want to maintain. That's not a completely functional way that we do the shoulder press. Like we'd be doing the shoulder press sort of with our arms inwards a little bit more, so we're in the line of the shoulder blade. But it's just a cool little way to have a look at people and see, are you quite stiff in the shoulder? Because if you are quite stiff in the shoulder, that's something that you really do need to work on as you're doing it. So if you're really stiff in the shoulder, foam rolling your upper back, foam rolling your lats. So your lats are this big muscle that comes down there, and they actually bring the elbows down like that. They're really tight. They're not going to allow you to come up because it's going to be very tight through here, and then you get really tight through there. So upper back, lats, and then also stretching out your pecs is a very, very good way to do that as well if you're really stiff. So some people I get in the clinic, they literally will have their arm there and I'll tell them to bring their arm back further and they'll be like, no chance, it's not happening. Or they'll go like this, and they just don't have that pec mobility. So what you want to do is you want to just take time, just mobilizing that and getting it a little bit getting it a little bit more flexible as well.
Yeah, that's it. And I've actually, I saw some of your stuff not too long ago, and I saw you doing those wall slides, and I've known about them for a while, and you just triggered me with them, and I'm like, oh, I'll give them a go, and I am hopeless.
Yeah. It's amazing though. You'd be surprised how many people can't do it. I'm one of them. Like I come down to that W position.
Yep.
And if you're in that W position, it's generally what's the collarbone part of your pec. So your pecs are on the sternum, connects here, but also connects up here. And as soon as I bring my arm down, I can feel it on the right. It just goes ping, and then my shoulder comes forward. So everybody has their little area. But if you're coming up above your head, it could be your pec, and it could also be your lat as well. But if you're coming down here, you're probably more thinking pec up the top here too.
Complete opposite to you.
You're above.
Good down here. It's just overhead. Struggle.
So maybe lats. The other thing I like upper back as well. Like if you extend through your upper back, is a really, really good one as well.
Yeah, awesome. So, and that's a really good exercise that people can do just anywhere, anytime. Jump off your computer and just go do a couple of, and I've been finding like I'll even sit up against the wall and just do like a front raise and try to get my hands against the wall. And I can feel just like all those muscles around your shoulder blade, especially in between there. You feel them fire up and trying to rotate that shoulder blade as well. It's really good.
Yeah. And just on that as well, like I should have showed you guys before, you can, like in terms of mobility, you can see. So do it before and after as well. I might even just show you real quick. Of rolling through your upper back. So give yourself a big hug, and that actually separates your shoulder blades. So it allows your upper back to be rolled more effectively. So you're not just putting the roller straight onto the bone, which is your shoulder blade. You're separating them, and you're rolling up. So as you're coming forward, you're kind of crunching. As you're coming back, you're letting your back extend and trying to get that big extension through your upper back. Spend about a minute on that. Come onto your side. Start sort of mid-rib. Face your palm up. Roll right through your palm, like so. And then what you can do, ideally, I have one, but I just won't grab it for now, but ideally using a big roller. So the longer ones that come up, they're about this high, because that way it goes over the whole of your back. But if you don't have that, just getting a couple of getting a couple of pillows under here, maybe a pillow up here, and just lying onto your back and just practicing that movement that we're doing, those snow angels. Except this time, just really light. You don't need to push it. And just going against gravity. And just letting gravity push you down and just practicing that W to Y or W to O. And just really working on that. And that'll just give yourself seriously, like do it for 5 minutes, and that'll give you heaps of room to just unravel. Because you got to imagine if you are spending quite a bit of time at a desk or you're on your phone a bit, like you're generally going to be really tight. Most people will be anyway. So that's a good way of getting a bit mobile, and then retest and see if it's any easier.
Yeah, awesome. And you're better off doing that before your session, because then you can actually get in a good position and get more out of your session and less likely to bloody injure yourself as well.
Yeah, like you, I'm sure you would do as well, bro. It's like doing that as an effective warm up is really, really important, particularly if you're going to be doing a day where you do some overhead training. You really want to make sure you've got that range, because otherwise you are putting yourself in a much greater chance of getting a serious injury in the shoulder, which nobody wants.
No, that's right. And it can go down the chain too. So you might not even get it in your shoulder. You'll get it in your lower back because you're compensating, like you said.
Yeah. You could be arching your back if you don't have the shoulder range. And then suddenly you do a facet joint in your back, or you could have a sprain in your sacroiliac joint or things like that. So like it's better to warming up. It's really, really important for avoiding injury.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you've gone over. So what do you say? That's your mobility stuff. That's
That's just like there's so much mobility that you could do for the shoulder. It's very person to person specific, and depending on each person's unique issues that they have, because everybody's issues would be different. That's just like a generalized, I guess we could call it like a bit of prehab / warm up before you train. That I think it'd be really good if you are one of those stiff people.
Yeah, definitely. And even if you aren't, it's good to keep yourself in working order.
Yeah.
So righto. So that's the mobility side out of the way. So how about stability? How do you create a good, stable shoulder? What are some things that you can do?
So the stability. So if you're somebody, I think I saw someone comment on your post too, Brody. If you're someone who's dislocated before, you've dislocated your shoulder before, you have either gone down a surgical route where, a lot of the structural and dynamic stability was injured. Maybe you severed a rotator cuff tendon, or maybe you all the ligaments were severed and you had to go down surgery. If you've gone down that route, generally you find those people are stiff and have imbalances in muscle. Or if you're but generally stable. But if you're somebody who's dislocated your shoulder before, and you haven't had a surgery, then your chances of dislocating your shoulder again are very high. And so you really need to, if you want to stay with what we call conservative rehab, or if you want to stay with not actually going and getting a surgery, then you need to really work hard on your stability. So, but we can't really do anything about the structure, because like we said, it's already been dislocated. Your arms come up playing rugby or whatever it was, and you've gone into this position, your shoulders popped up from the front there. We can't really help that. But what we can do is try and get those muscles to work effectively. So the muscles, my first go-to muscles for you guys would be work on the rotator cuff. So you've got one rotator cuff muscle that kind of comes through here, and then you've got one at the top, and then you've got two at the back as well. And they all help with structure and stability. So they rotate the shoulder like this, but then they also all have to, if you're going to do something, say you're reaching up to catch a ball, or you're throwing something, or you're palming someone in rugby, or whatever it is that you might be doing, they all need to grab together. And what they do is as they grab onto the humerus bone and they pull it back into the shoulder to keep it safe. And so working on them and getting them as strong as you can is really important. The best exercise that I've found to work the rotator cuff is working the back of the rotator cuff, particularly with people that get impingements or dislocations. And we work in spaces, usually with the jobs that we do, with most people's jobs, your shoulders tend to start to roll forward like this. So you've got kyphosis, which is like the upper back one, like the hunchback. But then you've also got poor shoulder mechanics as well, where your shoulders kind of rotate forward. You look a little bit like this, and that's an imbalanced shoulder. So the muscles at the back of your rotator cuff, they actually are on stretch, and they become weaker and weaker and weaker. So what we need to do is we need to do exercises to pull them back in. So best thing to do is grab, 1 second, I'm just going to grab a towel. Towel and a weight, and you'll find with this particular exercise, you really don't need to use much weight at all. In fact, I'd say for everybody, if you're going to try it, and particularly if you've had a shoulder dislocation, start with 1 kilo and then move up from there when you can do 3 sets of 15 repetitions comfortably with about a 2-minute rest in between each set. So that would be my recommendation for that. Go slow, because I think it is a military thing. I always say this phrase, maybe you guys can help me, guys, but slow is style and style is speed. Do you guys say that?
It's very similar. I've lost it now. Slow is fast and fast is slow. I'm pretty sure the way it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always say that one, and I always
slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that more. And I always quote the military, so now I can quote the military properly. So, yeah, you start with the towel. And I'll just move this down. You start with the towel. And the reason we use the towel is because you have these other really big muscles around the shoulder that want to get in and activate. And so having the towel there helps relax them a little bit more, because we want to work these tiny little rotator cuff muscles. Start with yourself down here. You have your hand there for a bit of support, and then you have your elbow down here. You always want to set your shoulder up into good posture. And so how we do that, you're going to drop your shoulder, because if you remember, we usually, a lot of people do get really overactive upper traps. So they'll be like this doing the exercise, but you're not really working your rotator cuff if this muscle is really, really overactive. So drop the shoulders. Retract the shoulders, so bring the shoulders back a little bit. You don't have to bring them back really aggressively, but just a little bit. And that's the position that you start your exercise in. Then from there, imagine with the towel, imagine there's an egg under the towel. You don't want to crack the egg, but you don't want the egg to roll away. So keep the egg just nice and stable there. And then you're just going to be doing your rotations up and down. Up and down. And we're going for 15. You'll see I'm doing it nice and slow. I'm going for 2 seconds up. I'm holding for about a second and then 2 seconds down. Don't do it fast like this, or you just be using other muscles that you don't want. Some people, if you are very irritated, your biceps tendon, the long head of your biceps tendon, which sits about here, some people might not like going from here down to here. So if you're one of those people, just stop about there and then come up. But ideally, trying to get that whole way down. And you'll feel it, like I can feel it right now. There'll be this intense burning through the back of your shoulder. Like this is like the most burning I get with any of the rehab exercises. And you're ideally trying to get to that 15 repetitions. If you start feeling any shoulder pain during it, in the top of the shoulder where you shouldn't be feeling it, it means you're starting to go back into that crappy shoulder posture again. So just stop there. Use pain as your guide. If you're getting pain at the top of the shoulder, then it's not it. If you're getting like a burning, fatiguey pain through the back of the shoulder, fantastic. That's exactly what we want. And that's how you start building up the back of your shoulder. It's a good sort of entry-level thing for people to do. And to be honest, it's a great exercise for anyone to do, even if you don't have shoulder pain, because it works on the back of those muscles. And like I said, most of us, we have these sitting postures when we're like this. So your rotator cuff muscles at the back here, they're always on stretch. So really, really awesome exercise to practice. If I was to give one one stability exercise for the shoulder, it'd be that one.
Yeah, that's it goes in the line with the saying the saying that I've always got. You stretch everything that you can see in the mirror, and you strengthen everything that you can't. So that's tend to be the way that it has to go. Like even hip flexors, everything like that, strengthen the glutes, back of the shoulders. Yeah, it works pretty well if you just run off that little method.
yeah, I like it, and it reigns true for the rotator cuff, because you've got your big delt at the back, and then the rotator cuff is very deep to that. Yeah. And that's right what you said, and that's why we do have the tau there. So it's really, really important to have that tau there, because otherwise you will start using other muscles, and that's what kind of it's detrimental. You're not going to increase your rotator cuff. So from there, that's a really not functional exercise. Like, we don't really walk around like this all day going like this. So it's not really functional, but it's a good way to wake the rotator cuff up and kind of work with that. Other exercises where you can go from there is you can do banded exercises where you're almost like grabbing a band, coming into this posture here. I wouldn't do this one if you've got shoulder pain until you've kind of mastered that, and until you don't have kind of pain bringing your arm up and down when you come up. I would save that one until you're sort of free from pain. And then from there, you can grab onto a band, and you can be doing your external rotation. So the band will be going that way. So we're almost pulling backwards and coming forward, pulling backwards. And that's a good way to go from there. And then just doing exercises on unstable surfaces, it's a really good way of having that rotator cuff actually really lock in and work. Because like I said, it rotates the shoulder, but it also grabs onto the shoulder. And it only grabs onto the shoulder when it feels like there's going to be some sort of real big issue with stability. So anything unstable that you can do, and I'm sure Brody does it with some of you guys as well, that's a great rotator cuff exercise as well. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so I just remember you saying, so like someone might be getting a bit of pain in the back of their shoulder because those muscles are underused and overstretched. So maybe in someone's head, they might be thinking, I need to stretch them because they're sore. Whereas you're saying it's a complete opposite. You need to activate them and strengthen them up. Yeah. It's
another, another one that's really like that is your hip flexors sometimes as well. If you're somebody who always stretches your hip flexors and it just never works, sometimes strengthening the hip flexors is the answer, which is completely counterintuitive to what you would think would be the answer, because you're like, they feel so tight. But when you start strengthening, you're like, oh shit, they're feeling a lot better now. But it's the same with the rotator cuff, generally. And if you are someone, I know if I go get a massage, or if I get like another physio to work on me, and you push into the back of my rotator cuff, like I'll jump in the air like a gecko or something. But if you strengthen that rotator cuff, it gets better and better and better. So if you are one of those people, strengthening is the answer. It's not just stretching.
Yeah, that's good. And the towel thing, honestly, I haven't used the towel. Every time I've done sort of rotator stuff, I've never used that towel. So that's even a good one. I
got it off. There's a study. They did a study on, and they did this EMG activity, and they actually put electrodes over the rotator cuff area, and they were testing what exercises, because it's always such a big thing with physio rehab, is trying to get these things to work in the rotator cuff muscles. And they found that that particular exercise elicited the highest rotator cuff activity. So it was it's a good opener to start with for everybody.
Yeah, good. You just lightly touched on a bit of bicep irritation before. Is that just caused from bad shoulder mechanics, sitting in a bad position?
Yeah. So the biceps. It's called biceps because there's two heads. There's a long head of the biceps and there's a short head of the biceps. And the long head of the biceps is our actual irritation area and it can sometimes be involved in a lot of injuries. It goes up and attaches to the superior or the top part of the socket, basically. So if you've got the socket, the bicep actually comes up and attaches to the top part of the socket there. And because of that reason, if you've got shitty shoulder posture, you're always jamming that top part of your biceps up because it's sitting up here. If your shoulder's sitting forward, the humerus bone can literally, if it's not sitting in the right place, can just keep butting up on the top of the shoulder because it's not completely properly in the socket, and it just comes up and just hits it. And over time, the biceps gets more and more irritated. So it's a different type of, when we talk about tendon problems and you think like my go-to is just Achilles. I would think of Achilles straight away. Achilles is usually by load. So like you've done too much. Maybe you've gone for a pack march. It's too long and you've irritated your Achilles that way. Your load was too high. Whereas a biceps tendon problem, which is really, really common as well, we're more thinking of, posture. So the posture, the reason the load's bad is because it's not because you've done too much per se. It's more just that your shoulder's not sitting right and it keeps hitting it. And that's too much load for the bicep and it gets irritated. So it's really, really common with the biceps.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much in line with something I was just about to go over. So one of the biggest things that probably shoulder problems that people have in the army in general, well, in the defense, is pain in the shoulders when they're doing push-ups, and again, and it also shows its head when they're doing pull-ups as well. Just through your experience and people coming to you with pain over that, like the biggest thing that I've heard is like the biceps tendon, as well as a little bit of bursitis from that bad shoulder posture and jamming up. So is that sort of what you see as well?
Yeah, 100%. So another study that I know of, so when they do, when you do a bench press, they did a study where they actually found that going down to where you reach the 90-degree mark. So what I mean by that is you come down and you get to here in a bench press, or with a push-up, I'd imagine it would be kind of here. You're coming down for our push-up. That's where we get the most sort of pec activation, when we're using our pecs and stuff like that. And after that part from here down to here, we really are stretching the crap out of our long-headed biceps tendon, that tendon that I was just talking about. Same with bench press. That part from here down to when you hit it on your chest and beat your chest a little bit because you've got a big weight. that's basically a massive stretch to the long head of the bicep. So you can get tendon problems from that, but you can also get things like a slap tear, where you literally pull with the biceps tendon. The biceps tendon is so strong, it actually pulls off a bit of the socket. So a bit of the actual bone itself, and you can have massive issues with that as well. So like you might have seen photos of someone who's got like their bicep is like come down to their actual elbow and stuff like that. So that's a whole different kettle of fish. But it basically, all I'm trying to say is that you really need to work hard on form first. Same thing. I need to get this saying right. What was the saying again, bros?
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Yeah. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You need to get your technique right first, and then you can build up your tempo after that. And then because you will, when you go into the military, or I'd imagine, I've never been in myself, you are going to be doing lots and lots of reps, right? So you need to make sure structure is good first. And that's why it's good, strength and conditioning. You guys have this that you can do. You can build up nice and strong. So when you do go in to do the testing, and when you do go into Kapooka or wherever you're going, you can actually have that structure and that stability, so that biceps tendon doesn't get further and further more irritated, because it can get quite bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was listening to a podcast with Joe DeFranco. He's pretty much one of my heroes. I was listening to him, and he was talking about exactly what you're saying there. So that big stretch at the bottom of a bench press, and so he's a strength and conditioning coach in America, and he's trains a lot of basketball players. So someone with super long arms doing a bench press down to their chest, their elbows are like all the way back compared to someone like me. I'm going down to do a bench press and, you know, my elbows are slightly below parallel. But someone like massive arms like that going all the way down to the chest is probably no good for them because they're getting that massive load there. And there's no need to be going that low. Like parallel for them is pretty much up off their chest. And you know, someone would be watching them doing a bench press going, oh, why aren't you going down low enough? Like, but they're going down low enough. It's just, it looks different to someone else. So everyone's different with, you know, with what they need to be doing, and you need to adapt it to you pretty much. It's, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that totally. And yeah, you're a basketball player, you're going to be struggling as well. Like they're built for what they do, right? They're built to slam dunk and to be really tall. But I used to work with the Illawarra Hawks as well, and seeing some of them do functional stuff, it's quite funny because they're these professional athletes, right? You watch them play basketball and they just nail it, but you have a look at them doing like functional things like one-legged squats, hops, and landing on a single leg, and they're terrible at it. And so it's the same with the bench press. Like you said, they got so much extra levers in their arms. They got massive arms, and it just puts them at a lot of risk for different types of injuries.
Yeah, just big giraffes.
They are. They're built for what they do. Yeah.
All right. So just one more thing before we sort of go to the group and see if anyone's got any questions. I'm sure Laura's got some. She's had a little bit of shoulder problems at the moment. But yeah, the last one is just on labral tears. Although, by the way, that slap lesion, I've had one of them before, not through training. I've fell off a skateboard and done one, and it was not very nice. I didn't have that full. Yeah, I landed on the tip of my shoulder and it slammed it back. And
yeah, okay. So yours was a different. Your same mechanism. You're still stretching through the biceps tendon, but yours was just purely from the top.
Trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nasty. So so to labral tears, I know there's a big thing with them. You know, in the last 5 or so years that they're sort of backing off surgery from them and trying to more stabilize the shoulder to sort of, avoid the surgery, because the surgery, you know, it doesn't always work. And labral tears are one of those funny ones that they can't really pinpoint whether that's the pain or not. So, what's your view on that? Is that true in any sense, or?
Yeah, it is. I have seen research for several studies like that. So there's slap tears, and there's also really bad impingements with tendon problems and stuff like that, where they've found that conservative, or which just means like basically exercise rehabilitation, and I guess from my perspective as well, the more manual techniques like your massage and mobilization initially to get people feeling better was just as effective as surgical rehab. So why go under the knife and put yourself under all that duress and all that uncertainty as well? Like, I know not many people do talk about it, but there is so many things that can go wrong when you get knocked out and go for surgery. When you can just get a same or better result from rehab, I guess it all comes down to how ready you are to do your rehab. If you're somebody, I guess anyone that's going into the military, right, you've got to have some level of motivation, because if you go and do your course, you go to Kapuka and stuff, like, they're going to drill you. So you need to have that motivation. So, and I've never had any issues doing physio for military people, because they would everyone's always compliant. So if you're ready to actually put in the work and do the rehab, you can get great results not going surgical for a lot of injuries with the shoulder. The same thing is, you just got to look at what might be the impairments or issues you see. Is it that with your injury, do you have a really hard problem using your rotator cuff muscles, or do you have a really hard problem with the whole shoulder blade part, shoulder blade mechanics? Like, do you need to work on the muscles that control tilting that shoulder blade up and down? We kind of look at all those injuries the same with the rehab. It's just about, with certain injuries, you'll find more instability. So with a slap tear, because you actually have pulled a piece of the labrum off, so to speak, the small part, and yeah, you usually find they can be a little bit unstable and need some stability work too.
Yeah, for sure. It all rolls into that stability and making sure that shoulder's working.
Yeah, it's better to keep it like, I'd say it's better to keep it like that. I've forgotten the physio that says it. He basically umbrellas all shoulder injuries into 4 different types of injuries, and I forget what they are now. But I quite like that philosophy. It's better to just to treat simply, to treat what you see rather than focus too hard on the pathology itself. And it's good to really focus on just treating those things, getting stronger, getting more stable, and then working up from there.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I'll just see if anyone, Laura, have you got any questions? I'll hit you up first because I know you've got a bit of a problem going on at the moment.
Yeah, so hi Ryan. I have had shoulder pain for the last couple of days. I went to the physio yesterday, and she thinks it is nerve pain in my from my neck, so from a tight neck that's working down into being a nerve pain in my shoulder/elbow. Do you have any suggestions for helping, like stretching your neck so that you don't get those follow-on effects for that?
Yeah. So it's hard to say where it might be coming from or what, but if it is a pinched nerve, and that is kind of what's causing it, or even like, have you been getting a lot of neck pain as well, or not so much?
I don't get neck pain. I get a tight neck, like my neck's really tight usually. But I do get a lot of the last 4 days it seems to have been just shoulder and elbow pain, and definitely you can feel it's definitely different to a normal like muscular sort of pain.
Yeah, the fact that it's radiating down as well would probably suggest that it's a little bit more of a nerve type thing. And if it's a nerve thing, it can come from a few different ways. But if it's legitimately a disc in your neck, because sometimes what happens is where the actual nerves exit the spine and then make their way down the arms, in that point where it exits the spine, it's very, very close to where the discs are. And the discs themselves, if you have a bulged disc where it bulges out to one side, which a lot of people have, might I add, and don't have any symptoms at all. But if it's bulging and pressing or touching on the nerve, you can have that referred pain. And so usually we put much more pressure on our neck when we flex our neck like this. And so I would say number one thing for you to help avoid pressure and lots of pressure on the neck would be to really, really focus on, for the next sort of week, really focus on posture, and particularly not just your neck posture, but also your upper back posture. Because if your upper back posture, if you're in this posture here and you're in that, and you always hear physios say, just tuck your chin in, like do a chin tuck. There's no amount of chin tucking I can do here that's going to fix me if I'm in that poor posture. So think about your back as well. Imagine there's a line from your sternum to your belly button, and you're trying to lift that up, make that line bigger. Get that line bigger, get the chest up, and that sets your neck up much better to sort of promote a better sort of neck posture. And then the other thing I'd say, are you working at a computer quite a lot at the moment, or not really?
No, I drive ambulances, so I'm driving a lot.
Okay, so maybe just thinking of actually, when you're driving, either a rolled towel. I don't know if you can do this or not with the ambos, but either like rolling up a towel and popping it behind your back when you drive. And so all that's doing is there. All that's doing is it's not letting us slump. So if we're like this, if I'm sitting in the ambulance, I can slump very easily into that posture, and my neck will be in poor posture like that. But if I do have something behind my lower back, or if you can, in the ambulance and some cars as well, if you have the ability to kind of work on the lower part of the chair to put a little bit more support, you can do that as well. To have that curve, suddenly, first of all, I'm much straighter, and it's very hard for me to flop into that bad posture because every time I do, I hit the towel, so it keeps me in a much better posture. So that would be, I guess, the number one thing I'd say for a neck. It's how you set yourself up with your posture, because otherwise, if you're in that flexed posture all the time, you're really just going to be pressing on the nerve all the time, and then the disc doesn't get a chance to relax. And when it doesn't relax, it will just stay inflamed. And then something that's like a 2-week injury takes, triple or quadruple the amount of time.
Okay, so it is fixable by like just trying
posture.
to...
Yeah. I wouldn't overstretch. If it's really irritated at the moment, I wouldn't go and overstretch too much. If you have been given some exercises from your physio, that's fine. I'd suggest working within a pain-free range of motion. So if they've given you a big trap stretch and you're going like this, don't crank your neck like that. Just have your neck, find a sort of reasonable point that you can hold. Like for me, it's about there, and then I kind of hold like that. And you can work on just dropping the shoulder on the other side like that. The other one that you can do, this will look really weird, but I'll show you, is you can do what's called nerve flossing. So imagine you're like a waiter, like this. And so, wait, let me get this right. Yeah. So we're going to go like this. It's weird in the video because I'm mirrored. But we're going to go like this. And so what we're doing is we're tensioning one side of the nerve, like flossing your teeth. You don't floss your teeth like this, pulling both sides. You floss one side and the other. It's the same with this. So we're going like this, and then we're bringing our head straight and we're moving the other side. Like this, head straight the other side. And what we're doing essentially is we're flossing our nerve, not our teeth, our nerve as we come through. And so it's a really good way of actually making that happen, having you sort of going out like that and moving one side at a time. That's a good way of trying to release the nerve, because the nerve might be a little bit trapped on the disc, and it's just a really good way of doing that. So I'd say that whatever your exercises your physio's given you, don't make sure they're within a pain-free range, because if they're painful, you're not healing. Get a better posture or improve your posture as much as possible. And then last one would be do a little bit of nerve flossing. Just do it like whenever you can think of it, maybe 15 reps. And then, it should all settle down after that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Yeah, awesome. So definitely, like you're even touching on that before with the weight of the head and sitting in that posture. It definitely it ends up streamlining back down your neck and into your shoulders and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We'll go for one more real quick question if anyone's got one. Scott, you got anything? Imogen, you're good. Helen or Josh, speak up if you got anything. No, seem to be good to go. Yeah. All right. So take homes from Ryan this time. So you're talking about mobilizing, stabilizing, slowing the movements down, and actually, focusing on the movement and correcting and strengthening. In other words, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. So
love it. I got to drill that into myself. I really got to drill it in. Good, big shout out to all you guys as well. I can see a fair few people that came to the chat have been to a previous one, at least one, maybe even the other two that I've done. So it's awesome that you are really taking control of your rehab as well, because it's super important. And with military work, you guys are really going to be like, it's a lot of load. You got to really build up. You got to get strong, and you got to actually think about where your little chinks in your armor are. And everybody has them. No one's a perfect human. Everybody has little chinks in their armor. And so you really do need to find out what yours are and really work on them. Because if you don't, and you do start working really, really hard, that's when you do get injuries, and you can prevent a lot of them just through just a few little things you do in warm-ups, and then just working on those Achilles heels.
Yeah, and honestly, that rotator stuff, because you do so many push-ups in the military. You're just doing them all the time. You're going to end up in that hunch position that you're talking about. And yeah, just throwing in that stuff that you've been talking about is going to work wonders in the long run anyway. And that's the thing, like people, they're like, oh, my shoulders don't hurt at the moment. Yeah, but you give it a couple of years and you're going to get in a fault that you've been in for the last bloody 10 years. And now it's causing a problem and it's super hard to get out of. So. Yeah.
100%. It's better to get these movement patterns right when you're young, and then when you get older, you don't end up like some of the other guys that were talking on the chat as well that have already had operations that are a bit stiffer now. Those operations, unless it's an acute trauma, like if it's something where they've had a rotator cuff and they're a little bit older, generally they've happened over time. They've gotten worse and worse and worse, and that's when they've had the issue. Not from acute trauma usually, unless they're rugby league players or rugby union players.
Yeah.
Or had some sort of military issue.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, a massive amount of value that you've given us. So thank you heaps, like giving out all this info for free. So yeah, if someone was wanting some one-on-one time with you, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah. Yep. So you can go to Invigor Health with my website. You either Google it or go to www.invigorhealth.com.au. Because if you are in Sydney, that's a bonus. You can do face-to-face with me. I'm in the eastern suburbs. But if you aren't, I do telehealth. And as you can see from tonight, a lot of the injuries that you get, you just need the right type of rehab and the manual stuff. While it's nice to have. If you want a long-lasting and good change, it's the exercise rehab that's going to get you there. So I'm doing telehealth as well, which is just over a screen. I've had one from you guys come in already. We've been working through his knee rehabilitation. But yeah, the telehealth is it's all the same stuff, just without the manual stuff. And for anyone that wants to sign up through the Insider group, we're offering 20% off. So it brings it down from, it's 100 a consult usually, down to 80 a consult. So anyone that wants to get in touch, just reach out.
Awesome. Thank you as always. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. And yeah, thanks guys for jumping on. Make the most out of everything that we're providing for you. And it really does create a much better program for you, because you can, you use all of this to hit all of the angles that we were talking about before. It's not just about strength and conditioning. It's not just about rehab, prehab. It's everything all rolled into one. All right, Ryan, thank you and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, Brady. Thanks, guys, for listening. I'll see you next time.